Welcome back to the Semaphore Music Festival Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Simon, and today we're joined by two incredibly talented artists who are making waves in the Australian music scene, Hana and Jessie-Lee, from the band aptly named Hana and Jessie-Lee's Bad Habits. We're going to find out what those bad habits are shortly, but with their amazing blend of old country, Americana, and a raw apologetic sound, Hana and Jessie-Lee have been captivating audiences across the country. They've just come off a tour for their new album, and they're getting set for Semaphore and a few more dates on there as well as out on the weekends. So hopefully they're going to play all that album of Say What You Mean, which I think is one of the most captivating albums of 2024. So as we get ready for their performances at Semaphore, let's dive into the creative processes. Let's talk to them about their inspirations and maybe what they've got in store for Semaphore and for the rest of the festival season. So Hana, Jessie-Lee, thanks for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I want to know, I've got to ask, I've known this for you, I've seen you guys dozens of times. Hana and Jessie-Lee's Bad Habits. Where did the name come from? Who sparked the idea for the band?
I think I came up with the name when we had done our first album together, Southlands, and because we had a band record with us for the album, but prior to that, we'd really just been playing mostly as a duo. I just wanted to indicate that the album had a band behind it as well, because then I guess we were going to be playing shows with a band. It was just something I thought of at the kitchen table and was just like, that sounds good. Jess, what do you think of it? And she was like, sure. And then, I don't know, I didn't really think of it as something that would maybe stick. I just thought, it'll just be like for the album or something. But then, yeah, I guess it just carried on.
And I guess it's a bit different from like the something and the something sort of band name, because we already had Hana and Jessie-Lee. You couldn't have Hana and Jessie-Lee and the somethings or whatever.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn
I think it was also
too.
because, yes. I think also I really love movies, and I really like when you've got a movie that is by a well-known director, and it's almost like the title of the movie is like, Scorsese's blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like
That's
that.
Cool.
It's like our, like Hana Jessie-Lee's Bad Habits, like we're presenting this, presenting an act, I suppose.
That's almost, but that suits, I think, because the music that you make it's not so much Scorsese, but it's that Tarantino-esque feel to a lot of the time. So, and Tarantino does that, Pulp Fiction is the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino. So I think you've struck a chord right there with your demographic really quickly. So the music itself, I mean, we struggle in Australia with the concept of what Americana music is, and I know that firsthand. And your music, you struck a great chord of old country and Americana to the point where it's almost a perfect fusion between the two genres. But on your own individual influences, were you from the same musical backgrounds? Do you like the same types of music, or did you come from different paths?
We have a lot of crossovers in what we like. I think we came from kind of different musical backgrounds, but with some crossovers. So, I was playing before we started playing together, I was playing in a kind of garagey punk band, and also like a blues rock and roll band as well. Jess was playing in a kind of like garage punk, rockabilly, Cramps sort of esque style band. So yeah, we have things that we both have in common that we really, really like. And I suppose coming from different backgrounds, country or country-ish music was sort of where we really crossed over, and that's why we started playing together.
Jessie-Lee, when did you first find the guitar as your voice or your instrument?
When I was about 13, I think. I didn't really want to go to drama class, and I heard that the guitar lessons were on at the same time. So I was like, awesome, I'm going to play guitar. But I also really wanted to play guitar, so yeah.
And is that something which, like, because a lot of musicians, I've seen you play, and it's almost like you and the guitar become one, and very fluid there. Is that something which as you've grown and learned more about music, but also about music yourself as a performer, is that something which you feel has evolved in your performance?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just I really like to kind of just get into the moment when I'm playing guitar. I'm not the most technical guitarist or the fastest, but I just like to kind of shut my eyes and just like try and get a good sound, really.
Yeah. One of the key things which a lot of bands struggle with is to get that feel that they have live. Sometimes people want to get that recorded feel live, but other times I think it's much better to have that amazing live feeling in a recorded sound. And I think you guys do that quite well. How do you translate that energy from your live performances when it does come time to record?
Because we recorded it kind of the same way that we would play live, so we're all in the room together. The amps were isolated and the bass was plugged in directly, but we were all in the same room, and for the most part we could see each other, so I think that kind of helps a lot. Yeah, just that vibe where you're not in your own world locked away where you can't see the other people, so it just helps that band sound, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'd played the songs live a few times as well, so we'd kind of road tested them before we recorded them, whereas the previous album we hadn't played any of them live before we recorded it, and then the songs changed after that, whereas this album we did a bit differently. We'd had time to play them live and at least play them in a rehearsal room together quite a bit before we recorded them, so that's probably why when we play them live they really sound kind of true to the recording.
The new album is Say What You Mean. It's an old country tour de force. It's track after track, and it showcases your emotive vocals and your in-depth interpretation of these songs. And you've got the soaring guitar of Jessie-Lee accompanying you, and this interplay happens from track one right through. A few months, the album came out, I think, April. We're now in September. A few months later, have you found that you've got different that favourite track or that favourite child? Has your favourite tracks from the album to play form changed as you've grown with the album over the last 6 months?
I think so, yeah. I definitely have, favourite songs that I like to sing. And so for me, it's usually coming from a perspective of what I really love singing live the most, and also what feels good together as a band as well. Like all the songs feel good together as a band, but sometimes there's just certain ones that you always kind of get a crowd reaction from, whether it's the solo or whether it's like a part in the chorus or something. So yeah, it's just been really fun playing the album live and people hearing it, and then sometimes you're at a show and someone's singing along and you don't know them, and you're like, who is that person and how do they know the words to this song? I guess it's on Spotify, but it's been really nice playing the songs live for sure. I think one of my favorites to play live is Bullseye, because it's just kind of like got this it's like a little bit more country in terms of like the traditional sound of country in terms of the tempo and that, but it's got a lot of guts as well, and I love singing that one.
I'd have to pick probably Under the Vines as a live track, just because it's probably the most sparse song that we do, and I think it really kind of builds up and then it just like kind of explodes, so it's a good one to do live. It's quite different to the other songs.
I heard there was an interesting...
my dad's favourite one.
You've got to go with the parents. They've started it all. They're either supportive or they're to blame, so we've got to go with our parents for sure. So the Tallest of Tales, I understand, was recorded for this album, but it was also recorded back in 2016 in a very interesting place to record. Where was that recorded the first time?
That was, I think you're talking about when I recorded it in the little booth at Third Man Records in Nashville.
Third Man, yeah.
Yeah. That's because I'd just written it, and I was just on a holiday, like going around America. I did play a couple of shows over in Virginia with some friends of friends, which was fun. Off the record shows, because I did not have a visa over there. Don't tell anyone. And when I was in Nashville, I had been to Third Man Records before, and the little, for those who haven't been there, they have this booth, this old style booth, where you can record a song, sync it can only go for a minute and a half, but it presses it straight onto vinyl, and then the vinyl just pops out, and then you've got whatever you recorded on this little tiny vinyl record, which is somewhere in my lounge room here. I think it's on the record shelf. And I'd just written that song, so I was like, oh, why not? And the first time I'd been to Nashville, that booth was broken. So I just said to myself, if I go back, I'm going to go there and see if it's working, just to do it for fun. But it's so small. And so I had this guitar, and I was kind of like, had to have the guitar kind of like upright to fit in the booth with it. It's so awkward, but it was just a real novelty. But yeah, I wrote the song when I was there. It's changed a lot since then. But yeah, that was where, I guess, the official first recording of that song.
It's going to be a collector's item. We'll put that in the box set in 20 years' time. You know, the collector's box set. It
sounds terrible.
Look, it couldn't be any worse.
Is that why you've never shown it to me? Because I've never heard it.
I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you next time you're around, and then you can laugh at it.
I think we need to play it live at Semaphore. I think that'd be a good idea. Jessie-Lee, you supporting me on that? We'll
it could be the walk-on song.
A walk-on song. Perfect. Perfect.
On the stage.
Exactly. And we'll bid on it for charity, for sure. So we had a similar thing. We were at the Ryman in Nashville, and because the Ryman's also got a little where you can go and record. And so we walked in, and I had my uncles with me. I took my uncles on a trip, and my uncle just turned 64. I was like, hey, can we record when I'm 64? And there's songs, no Beatles songs, anything that's copyrighted, essentially you can't record. And then lo and behold, you accidentally drop a $50 bill on the mixing desk, and you get to record when I'm 64. So it's a interesting experience. But again, like your visa situation, we didn't hear that story. It's sworn to secrecy. So
no one will ever hear this interview.
No. Like the good part about being the host is I'm also the editor, so I can fix this up, and we'll put it in the same case as that single that Jessie-Lee's never heard. How have you both changed as not just as songwriters? How have you both changed as songwriters and performers since Southlands from 2017?
I don't personally. I haven't really changed at all. I think, but what I play on the record has changed, because I think what I played on Southlands wasn't really me. What I play on this record is me, and I think the band is more of a fully formed band that sounds like the sum of its parts, whereas Southlands was probably more Hana bringing some songs and people sort of playing on it, but it definitely wasn't my sort of sound. Like, that's why the albums are so different, because the guitar is very different, both albums, I think. I'm sure Hana's changed as a songwriter though, but guitar-wise I haven't changed. It just didn't show it on the first album as much.
No, and that's, I'm glad you said it, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, when I was listening to it before, I thought to myself, you really come to the forefront, and as I say, your guitar playing's not changed, just your focus and your featuring and your production is so much more refined, and it really cements this experience that is this new album. So I think I'm glad you picked that, because that's exactly what I was thinking last night when I was listening.
And we also got to arrange it together in the same room, whereas the first record, because we were living in different states, we didn't get to really rehearse it. So we didn't have the time. Like, some of these songs we played live for 6 years before we recorded them. I think a couple of them were older, so they actually sound like the band, whereas the songs on Southlands, like Hana was saying before, once we released the album and started playing them live, they changed a lot and became the Bad Habit sound, that sort of. But I'm really happy with the way this album sounds. So.
Yeah, definitely more cohesive.
Yeah, cohesive is a great word. It's a really good word. I think it's fusion is the one that I was thinking of. It's really, and I think it's before you said, like, you tracked it live, and you can tell when albums are recorded live together as opposed to layered and so on. Bands like the Mavericks and Mike Henderson's band and so on, they've always done that, and that's such a different feel, as opposed to, you can just tell they're almost overproduced in some sense. So I think that's great.
And it suits the kind of music that we're doing as well, like to
Very
have that kind of live band in a room sort of feel.
Yeah. As you said, some of the songs you've been playing for 6 years, as songwriters, are you patient songwriters, or do you comfortable letting something sit there and maybe for 3 months, or in some cases years, to come back to it? Or what's your preference for a songwriting style?
Pretty patient, I think. Like, I mean, I kind of just try and write as much as possible, which is easier said than done, because you go through waves of feeling really inspired and productive, and you write and write and write, and you pump out lots of different, songs and lyrics and all sorts of things, and you might have a lull period where you just feel like you can't write anything, or just nothing comes out. So I try and just record everything, even if it's just like a little scratch demo on my phone. And some songs will sit there for quite a while without anything ever happening to them. Like Under the Vines, actually, I think I wrote the initial idea for that in 2013 or 2014, because I remember I started writing it when I was living and working in Northern Territory. So the initial version of that song was quite different, and the lyric content was a bit different too. So that song really sat around for quite a while before we did anything with it. So I feel like I have a good amount of patience as a songwriter, because now, particularly, I don't really want to go forward and record something until we feel like it's ready to go there, or ready to sort of at least put to the rest of the band and work on. So it's good to have a pool of songs, I think, to kind of pick from. So quite often I'll just write something that's just an idea, and it might just be a verse and a chorus, a loose idea, and I'll put them all in a folder and I'll send them to Jess and be like, which one of these do you like? Do any of these sort of like make your ears prick up? Like, what do you think? And then we might just pick like one or two to sort of work on, and then we go from there. And it doesn't mean that they'll end up on a recording. It's sort of, when we're doing this album, we had more than enough songs for the album. We had to sort of pick what we really wanted to work on and put our effort into. So yeah, it takes a lot of patience, because, you could just record everything, but then I don't feel like you would get the best out of what you've got. You wouldn't get the best out of, you'd just be recording it for the sake of recording it, which I don't really want to do. I probably did that in the past, and that's I guess how I've changed, is I definitely have put a lot more thought into the songs and the arrangements, and working on them with Jess, and where we want it to go.
I think that's also because you say, like, you've got these other songs, it might not be the right time to be released right now as a band or as an audience. The audience might not be ready. The audience might grow, or things like that in years to come. You see someone like Chris Stapleton he's got songs that he's written. Chris Stapleton's been a songwriter in Nashville for 20 years, and some of the songs he's written many, many years ago for Guy Clark or George Strait, they're just seeing the light of day on his albums now. So that they're taking a whole different meaning, because the audience has changed or grown, or circumstances, or the marketplace has changed too. So it's good to have that material there. I'm going to ask you both, from a lead singer point of view, Hana and Jessie-Lee, from a guitarist point of view, if you could collaborate with anyone on stage, so Jessie-Lee, if you could play with another guitarist on stage, past, present, or future, and Hana, from a singer point of view, who would you like to collaborate with? Jessie-Lee, we'll start with you.
That's a really hard question. Just like the first name that came to mind was Ry Cooder, because I would love to be great at slide, but I'm pretty average at it. And I just think he could create some really cool, like, atmospheric kind of slide guitar stuff to, fill out the sounds. I'd pick him. I think I love his playing, and especially his work on, like, Paris, Texas soundtrack and that sort of real eerie kind of thing. Yeah.
Plus his production and his diverse music background, and that he did that Paris, Texas soundtrack, and years later he's doing that Buena Vista Social Club stuff, isn't he? So
yeah, he's very diverse what he can do, and some of the like sort of Indian stuff he's done as well. It's amazing.
I think that's a great answer. I was fully expecting you to say something like Stevie Ray, because everyone says Stevie Ray.
They would just be playing exactly the same thing, but they ripped all his licks off. So
I didn't want to say that. That's why I thought Stevie Ray, but that's okay.
I had to pick someone different.
That's okay. Hana, from your point of view, who would you like to collaborate with on stage from a singing point of view? Maybe a duet.
Oh my God. That is the hardest question, because there's so many that I would want to collaborate with, but I would also be way too intimidated to even be near them. So that's a hard question. I think probably, just in terms of someone that I would love to sing with, is Brittany from Alabama Shakes, because I just have adored that band and her voice and her solo stuff for such a long time. I think it would just be amazing to be on the same stage and do a duet with her. So that would probably be one of mine. But yeah, it depends what day of the week you ask me. But That
What a
big
voice,
influence,
but
I think, on this album too. Yeah. Oh my God, she's amazing. So that's
and I read somewhere she's touring Australia next year. Not sure.
I have
It's
not
Brittany from
heard that,
Alabama
but thank
Shakes.
you
No,
for telling me.
I
I will be
read
looking
that.
that up. I hope
Maybe
that is true. Oh my God, I will die.
I hope I just didn't break an embargo on an email I got it a few days ago, but I'm pretty sure she's touring. So and I've seen her
Cool.
before, and like with Alabama Shakes, comes out and starts that hold on, and it's just like somewhere my heart was on the floor, within seconds of the show starting. So let's get her. Brittany, if you're watching the podcast, I'm sure you are, reach out. We'll put you in touch. We can fit you. Can we get Brittany from Alabama Shakes at Semaphore maybe? I'll call Deb tonight. I'm pretty sure we can get that set up for us. So. Talking about Semaphore, you're performing 2 shows at this year's Semaphore Music Festival, the 20th anniversary of this amazing little festival here, and a time when big festivals are falling by the wayside. We're finding that, country music festivals, folk festivals, and little niche festivals like Semaphore are thriving, which is fantastic for us. What excites you most about taking the stage at an event like Semaphore?
You want to go, Jess?
I actually just I love Semaphore, the beach. My dad was born in a hospital in a house on the Esplanade there, and it's just somewhere that we as a family really like to go to. So I kind of like that we get to play outside and stand on the back of the truck and look out towards the ocean when you're playing. I think that's pretty fun and not something you get to do every time you play a show. And then we're also playing the Semaphore Workers Club, which is such a cool place. And there's not much else like it in Adelaide as far as band venues. I think it's its own special thing. So just feel really lucky to get to play both of those shows in 2 different locations. So it'll be good.
Yeah, our hometown. It's always exciting to play shows in our hometown, especially a festival. So, and we played the festival maybe in
2017, maybe
17. I think that's when we played it last on the foreshore. So it'll be really nice to come back, and let's cross our fingers for good weather for the weekend.
One of the things I think why festivals like this and why country and all, Americana festivals and folk and things like this are surviving, it's because they bring a sense of community. No one's threatened, everyone's accepted. You can take your family, you can be quite safe, and you can see people that you might not have seen for 12 months since the last Semaphore, last Tamworth, or last out on the weekend. And it's just like you saw them yesterday. And I think that's where the larger festivals are missing that connection. We can connect with musicians, can connect. I've seen these festivals where the musicians will run off stage because they want to go and see someone else's set. And as a fan, you can walk around and see things you would never see at a normal gig. So I think that's one of the reasons. But with that in mind, what can we expect from your shows at Semaphore? Any secrets we can let out of the bag or exclusives?
Well, it's pretty exciting because we've got a different band backing us up for these shows. We've got a special band. We've got drummer and bass player who Hana and I both used to play with in different bands. So I used to play in the Villainettes, which was, like a rockabilly, psychobilly band. And our bass player, Kylie, is going to fill in with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hana's old band, Ricochet Pete, their drummer, Matt, is going to fill in on drums. So he's played with us before in our previous sort of country band. But we're just pretty excited to have a different lineup of some of our best friends for these shows. So that it's going to be really, really fun. And I'm really looking forward to it.
I think that's the best part about it. I mean, playing with different musicians can reinvigorate something. It can take something, but it's also, I think, it lends itself to the credibility of the music. That you've got other musicians that can jump in, that can play it, and you're interested in doing so. So I think that's further testament to this great album you've put out. But last question, we ask the same question of everyone. What's it feel like when you walk out as Hana and Jessie-Lee on stage?
It's just always, I don't know, it's just always exciting and fun because we're friends and we love playing music together. We like playing the songs. It's just always a ball. Like I'm never like not looking forward to it. And that's from a show in a mall bar to a festival stage to whether you're playing to like 10 people or, like 500 people or whatever. It's always just really, it's just always really exciting and fun. And I'm always just hoping that I remember the chords and the words.
In the words.
That's also
The words
my
are
feeling is
essential.
I Yeah, I really have to remember the words this time. Like, yeah, not that other people probably notice that much. Although sometimes I think my facial expressions might give it away because I'll just be like,
And it's always fun kind of getting to dress up as well, because I don't wear a cowboy hat all day every day, but I do when I'm on stage, and it's kind of like just stepping into a different character, which is fun. And wearing kind of rhinestones and fringing, and just kind of makes it a little bit more special because you're there to do the show.
yeah.
But
I love getting dressed up
presentation-
before getting on stage. Yeah, it's a presentation.
that presentation is fantastic. I remember Elvis once said, if you dress like the audience, you'll end up in the audience, and that's why he wore the jumpsuit. And I think
yeah,
Hana, you dress in this amazing Western wear with embroidered roses and boots, and then Jessie-Lee, last I saw you, I think at the Cronulla Jazz and Blues Festival, first person I've ever seen who's transformed an Adidas top, I think it was, into rhinestones and tassels and so on. So I mean, that's but that's the thing. Your interpretation of your presentation on stage, and that makes it exciting for you, I'm sure. Because as you say, it's almost like getting dressed for the show is getting into that mindset and getting ready for it, as opposed to I was at a pub on Saturday night in Sydney, and just like I couldn't tell who were the homeless people outside and who was the band on stage. It was just there's just no presentation. It's like, oh, let's put on a black Bonds shirt and some torn jeans and that'll do. But I think when you have music like you have, which can be interpreted, that can be celebrated and enjoyed, presentation that you put into your live performances, when I've seen it, really lends itself to an experience. And that's a bit of a thing where it's not only your fans can be there on Instagram, but it's a water cooler thing. I remember talking to people after I saw you in Cronulla and saying, oh, you've got to see this band. I saw them on Saturday night, and spend 10 minutes going through the video footage on my phone or the photos. And I think that's when you do go to that effort and make that presentation, then I think certainly it's enjoyable for you, which hopefully it is, and it's really enjoyable for fans. And we're going to get to enjoy you at Semaphore Music Festival, 2 shows where we've got you on Saturday, 5th of October at the Semaphore Workers Club, and Sunday, 6th of October at the Semaphore Foreshore Reserve. So tickets now on sale, SemaphorMusicFestival.com. Please go and get there, because you will miss out. If you do not see this band, you will miss out on one of the seminal bands, the rising bands, I truly think, in Australian country music and old country music for sure. With this album, Say What You Mean, I've listened to a zillion albums this year, and so on. I got a pile over here to listen to, and I keep coming back to my Chris Stapleton albums, which I cheered a little bit. But this album, I think, is sets apart as not just a good album for Australian music. This is an album on an international level, and certainly, hopefully, it gets that recognition in days and weeks and months. But we need you to go and see them at Semaphore in a few weeks' time. So thank you so much for your time today, Jessie-Lee, Hana, from Hana and Jessie-Lee's Bad Habits. Congratulations on Say What You Mean. It's a fantastic album, and we look forward to seeing you at Semaphore at the Music Festival, October long weekend. Can't wait to see you there.
Thank
you.
Thank you so
Can't
much.
wait to play there. Thanks for having us.
No
And
worries.
thanks for all the kind words about the album as well. We really appreciate it.